What's going on, everybody? How's everybody doing?
Good. What's going on, brother?
Ooh, how you doing, man?
I don't even think we live. Hold on. Are we live?
Yeah, we live, baby. We 29.
Yeah, that's what it says.
Yeah, okay, well, we live then. Let's keep it going. Hey, my name is Anthony Goodson. I'm the host of a show that's a little bit confused tonight by the name of Rebranders, and I don't have my shirt on because I'm representing Stephen F. Austin tonight. Sorry.
All right.
The way it's got to be. All right, alongside my co-host, Eric Russell. What's up, Eric?
What's good, everybody?
He's a man of many words. Adrian, the Ace Stinson. What's up, Ace?
What's up, world? How y'all doing out there?
All right. Hey, look, we got our fan favorite, everybody's favorite, from the Tom Joyner Morning Show and every radio station around the country, including Ricky Smiley. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Kevin Woodson.
Oh, shucks.
Yeah, Kev, what's going
Everyone's.
Now, y'all know we love it when Kevin's on because we get schooled. Now, tonight we were supposed to have a couple extra people on the show. It's not going to work out the way we thought, but it's going to be much better. We all get a chance to kind of talk a little bit. But tonight we got a very special show, the role of a man. Let's all get deep into this one. Let's think about what a man is. Now, one of y'all, I'm not going to say who, and obviously it wasn't Kevin or Eric, suggested that we should get some, that a woman should tell us what a man should be like. We should have a woman on the show. Now, I'm not saying that a woman don't have any kind of input on what a man should be like, but I am going to say a woman can't tell me how to be a man. Wouldn't y'all agree with that?
Yeah, I agree. And that was half the statement. What I was saying was
clarify
point of view to see where it's coming from on that end so that we could correct what needs to be corrected if needed. That's it.
But we already know the job. At least the good ones do. I think.
The role of a man. That's what we're talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're out there watching, please do us a couple things. Number one, share this show. Always share the show. Push that share button. Let me go ahead and push my share button so we can look at that.
You gotta put it on the banner to let them know.
Right on. And number two, don't hesitate to comment. Comment, let us know when we're right. Let us know when we're wrong. We got Kevin. We got the spell checker. He's the nomenclature of the night.
No.
I don't even know if I use that correctly, Eric, but we're going to use the word anyway.
It rolled out smooth, baby. It rolled out smooth.
Hey, look, things are so much different today. All right, today we have the internet, we have cell phones, we have so many things that we didn't have before. And I'm sure these play a part in what a man is. Right, 1950, or let's just say 1960, when Kevin was a kid, 1965 even, versus today, 2022. How is it different, and what can men of today learn from the young men of today? What can the older men of today learn from the young men of today? Let's talk about that for a minute. Is there anything we can learn from them?
From the young?
Yeah, anybody under 30, that's young.
Oh.
Well, I think I definitely think technology-wise, there's a plethora. I did that for you, Kevin, since you was on the show.
Oh, I was gonna say you saw me point out.
Yeah,
you saw me point out.
Yeah. There's a plethora of things I think we could, technology-wise, things like that. But then also too, with this generation, you do have to give them props. There's a lot of things that we, feel is wrong and things they're doing wrong, but I wouldn't say necessarily the hustle, but their ability to get to the money, finding ways and just the avenues and the streams of income they have, I think it's phenomenal. Whereas, with the older generation, it was, the sweat of the back. Now it's brain power.
Well, okay, so when people think about the word man, first thing we're going to start thinking about husband, father, dad, all this stuff. But let, before we answer that question, let's define what is a man in the first place. Eric, what is a man? What's defined as a true man in today's society?
Today's society, man, that's a loaded question, and a man is a loaded question. If you talk to certain people, I'm gonna go from a physical standpoint. And somebody with the male genitalia, we'll go there first. That he also has the ability to. I believe a man has the ability to lead as well. Somebody who take care of responsibilities, somebody who's And two, it's a lot of different characters. Obviously, a real man has, but ultimately, I think the real man just really takes care of responsibilities.
Kevin?
Yeah, I'll piggyback on that. Protector, provider, like you said, leader, and you don't lead with arrogance. I think that's very important. But if do what I say, woman, or whatever, not that. But you're an authoritarian, but you have to, of course, win that confidence first. It's not to demean your other half, but it's to be cooperative, but just to say I'm the leader. Because when you hear that strange noise at 3 a.m. in the morning, it's not a woman in the world that's gonna roll over and say, "Hey, baby, I just heard something. You stay there while I go downstairs and see what's up." It's gonna be go downstairs and see. You see what I mean? So there's a protector coming in. And in case somebody's saying, "Well, I have to do that if you by yourself," yes, but with a guy around, you shouldn't have to do that.
I think from these definitions, so what I'm getting, the man, is you have to mix Bill Cosby, Ike Turner, and Martin Luther King together. Is that the
combination?
Perfect, that's the perfect mix?
No, I won't say the perfect, but that's an interesting combination.
It is a combination, that's for sure.
But I get your point. I get Ace's point.
Hey Kevin, I like what you said earlier about the leadership piece, not being like authoritarian. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like you being somebody's boss as opposed to a leader. Because there's a difference. I'm sure we'll talk about later on too. There's a difference between being a boss and being a leader. So hopefully we get into that discussion a bit later.
Right.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely.
Well, you know what? We'll jump into it here in just a little bit, but I tell you, when I think about a man, I think about a visionary. Somebody who got this idea of what's to come. Whether he's a single man, a man that has a family, or whatever, he kind of have an idea of where life is going to take him. And so he got these walls set up, and he know how far he can go outside of those walls or within those walls to keep him going in one direction. To me, a true man, because this is where the fine line is cut. A true man is always doing the responsible thing. But you could be a male with the male genitalia, as you said earlier, Eric, but you still could be a boy. You can be a 35-year-old boy if you just all out. I don't want to cut any of our listeners.
No, you talking responsibility or size? You got to clarify. We got an audience. We got a diverse audience.
Well, let's go to that audience and see what they say. Tony Goodson is the man. Oh God. I don't know if that's in first. I don't know if that's in third person. Hey. All right, but yeah, when I think about a man, there's a difference between a man and a boy, and a man has a vision to where his life is going to go, and he may not always get there, but he works hard and he gets somewhere, and he takes that same vision with his family. To me, that's a man, and with that man, if you're a good man, Ike Turner, speaking of which, he had the vision. Now let's talk about that leader we were talking about earlier, because Ike Turner, I don't know if that's considered the leader that we're looking for. I'm sure we've all seen that visual. Of that.
He got the job done, but it's not quite yet. We throw Joe Jackson in there if we want to.
Yes, sir.
He got the job done, but
at some point, both of them held their finger real stiff, then shook their fist. At some point.
Yeah, you're right.
All right, so let's talk leadership. Leader. What does a leader look like?
A doer, a servant. I think in the Bible, and I hate when I get to scripture and don't know the text scripture, but in the Bible it talks about being a servant. Jesus was a servant first. Wash his feet and serve the people, and I think that's what a leader is. A leader is not just a talker and say, not like a delegate or anything like that. A leader is like, hey, come on, let's go do this. He's doing it by example.
Eric?
Strategize is somebody that executes that plan.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I'll say this, and I'm gonna take it from a perspective of a father, although I want to make it contextually from a man and not a father, but I'm gonna say it from a father's perspective though. So my son, when he sees me do something, that means more to him than when I tell him to do something, right? So if I say Eric, his name is Eric too, by the way. So call him EJ. So EJ, if I don't want you hitting your sister, right? But if you see me hitting Maddie, then what means more to him? Him seeing me hit Maddie, not seeing me hit Maddie, or actually telling him not to hit Maddie? You know what I mean? Or just tell the truth. You see me lying, that's gonna make a bigger impact to him than me telling him not to lie, right? So, like I said, you got to lead by example. I think in more opportunities than not. I think just actions speak louder than words. Although words have a lot of meaning, I do think actions in this particular situation speak louder than words.
Is Maddie your daughter?
Yeah, Madison's my daughter.
Oh, Madison. Oh, okay. Well, see, Madison might need a spanking at that moment. Right. And by you being the daddy, it's like, I thought we wasn't supposed to hit Madison. No, you're not supposed to hit Madison. I was disciplining Madison. So yeah, but I get what you're saying, though.
Yeah, you're talking about the physical example, then that's the instruction afterwards too. So it's different.
Right,
too.
right.
So the first part of it is being the example, and then you can get the instructions.
And that's all the part of leadership.
Right.
Everything just said, it comes right back to leadership, and leading by example.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to the beautiful guest that we have, Angie Barrett Brown. Ace, I'm gonna let you read. A leader, go ahead, read, Ace.
Okay. A leader is someone who can be anything and anybody at any time. I'm reading it like this because I'm thinking that's the passion that she put into this. Who also knows what role to play when, whether it's actually being out front or standing in the back, giving encouragement and support to someone else.
Oh, that's great. That's actually
it's good.
Had her on.
Oh,
it is good.
Angie, I hope I did you justice.
Thank you for the comment,
I think
Angie.
it's good.
Kevin, what is a leader?
Mm.
What is a leader?
That person is out. That person is out front, not just being loud, but that makes other people want to follow them. It's like the coach of the team. I don't know if y'all remember Bill Cowher used to coach the Steelers.
Right.
Yeah, me and my friends used to say, and I had a coach like that in high school, played football for, and his name was Charles Simmons. And he was the kind of guy that made you want to play for him. I don't mean make you want to play like with the, like I'll punch you out, although he would. But he made you want to play for him. He had that drawing power that made you, and I think Bill Cowher is that way, since I'm naming somebody that just about everybody would know. But that's leadership. That's somebody that can getting biblical, that can draw me into them,
Let's take the difference between two leaders. Now, this is not this is not an attempt of me trying to downplay anybody. Let me go ahead and say that, because our listeners are all over the place, right? But you have a Martin Luther King,
okay,
and then you have a Donald Trump.
Right.
You have an insurrection,
oh, Lord.
And then you have an individual who's going to jail with the people that he's protesting with. So when you look at Martin Luther King, I see him as a true leader. He was beat, he was spit on, he was put in jail, he was killed. The list goes on, but he had a purpose, and his purpose was to get to this point, this mountaintop, right? And he had the dream, he had all these things, but that to me is what a leader is about. It's not that he told them what to do, he did it with them. Meanwhile, you have the other side.
And the other guy, in my opinion, I'm sorry.
Oh no, go ahead, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to say that the other guy was manipulation through leadership, in my opinion. When you have the favor of the people, so you use that favor, manipulate it, and then you got what we have now.
I can't disagree with you more. I couldn't say it better myself, so I'm not even going to finish that thought. Mar Anthony, let's go to the comments. Leaders exist to give of themselves and can give only from what they have. Leaders exist to give of themselves and can give only what they have. Absolutely, I love it. So I think
that's nice.
Absolutely, because see, a leader. So getting back to our original point, we're talking about the role of a man. I think that a true man has to be. It's funny because if you're a true man, you're a leader within your own life. You work hard, you pay your bills, you take care of this, you have your visions, you do this, that, and other. But you may not be a leader at work. You may not be a leader in the community. You may be a follower everywhere else, but you lead in your place. the best that you can. We talked about this the other day, Eric. Go ahead and tell me what you think about that.
Well, we talked about sometimes the best leaders start off as followers, right? Because sometimes you got to learn how to be a leader. And I think that in a lot of times, people try to be leaders and they're not prepared to be leaders at that time because they just don't know what to do or how to do it. I take somebody like let's say with stick with football. This is kind of a football opening days tomorrow, so I'm sure a lot of dudes and a lot of sports fans are super happy about tomorrow having been the first football game. So there's a lot of coaches that come out of under other coaches that become really good coaches. But if that coach, let's say an offensive coordinator became a head coach, but was horrible, but he didn't pay attention to the coach again. He was horrible. But I've seen a lot of offensive coordinators become head coaches that do a really good job because they watch somebody like a Will Pitt, like a Bill Cowher, like a Bill Parcells. Like, I wouldn't say Jason Garrett. I'm a Cowboys fan. But there's a lot of good leaders out there. There's a lot of good leaders out there. So I think you need to sometimes you have to be a follower before you become a leader.
Yeah.
The role of a man. Anybody else want to comment on that?
Yeah, I think too is when we talk about the leadership, sometimes I think definitely integrity has to come in there, and like I like what you said about vision, because the right vision is also key to it. Because I think about Jim Jones, great leader. He just had the wrong vision, and he led the wrong way. And he had good intentions for his folks, but he was leading down the wrong path that he was going down, so I think that leadership also comes with, it also has to come with some type of, I guess I want to say like a check and balancing system, as far as really checking to see if the intention, the outcome is, I guess, won't be detrimental, knowing that you're doing the right thing and going the right way, I guess.
That's that leadership manipulation thing at work again.
Mm-hmm. Don't drink this.
Because I got y'all over here in Guyana, and now you can't go home. Nah.
Oh yeah, shut up and drink that juice.
That's right. Have some more Kool-Aid.
Deborah Goodson says, "I believe that a good leader is one that can follow as well as lead. He has confidence in his ability to lead. If Jesus was a good leader, who did he follow? I mean, obviously he followed God." But was he able to follow the man at all, or was he just a straight leader based off her comment? Eric, you had something to say?
No, it wasn't about that, though. So I want to give somebody an opportunity to respond to that, though. If anybody has something.
He actually followed for a while. Was it John the Baptist?
This might not be your...
that he allowed to baptize. Yeah, it's definitely not. Well, I'm not saying
that's all right, Pastor.
Yeah,
that's all right.
I know about enough.
Well,
it's something I know about enough for some of them, but
there you go.
It might not be my departmental knowledge might be compromised.
I understand
on this ideology.
The role of a man. All right, so some of the things that one of the hardest thing for a man to do. Of course, we got to lead our life and do some of these things. And we're going to get back to the original question. Can the young learn from the old in today's, can the old learn from the young in today's society? But I have a question for y'all. Now, let's kind of dig in this for about 10 minutes if we can. How is it that you pick a wife? How is it that a true man picks his wife? I mean, because as men, especially black men, we still walking down the street or the aisle or whatever. We see that big old dragon behind her. Sorry, Mom, I had to say it. Or we see that pretty face or whatever the case may be. And sometimes we think that's her. When in reality, that's not how you pick her. There's so much more. Well, how does a man find a woman? Before we get to that, let's go to comments. Yes, Jesus was a good follower. He kept the old covenant.
Says Deborah.
I knew she was going to respond back. All right, but yeah, how does a man find a wife? Now I already know what Deborah's going to say. She's going to say, you got to pray about it and ask God and all these things. But let's talk about it as men. Kevin?
Well, having prayed about it and having already asked God, I would say men are visual. We're visual creatures. So we're going to see something that looks attractive to us. But now when you find that, you have to be able to vet it. You just can't say, "Oh, look how good she look. Look at that behind. Look at that face. I'll take it." You know, you gotta look at all the aspects. What do we have?
Mm-hmm.
Are the moral values the same? Do we see raising kids basically the same way? You don't have to be a carbon copy of the other person, but you have to be able to at least get along with this to be willing to work at it.
Eric?
Well, I always look at it from history standpoint. Honestly, like when I think about how I was taught to be a man, like you're saying, real visual creatures or whatever. So we were taught. Well, a lot of us taught. The more women you get, the bigger man you are, the better man you are. So I think that's how, and that just adds on to us being visual, right? So I think now we have to kind of change. We have to kind of transition into the idea of literally finding the Bible said a good thing, right? So we got to find the good thing. Good thing can be physically and visually attractive, but a good thing means, like Kevin said, a lot more than that. So I think we have to definitely change the verbiage and the narrative that we teach our kids today. I got a son now, so I got to make sure I'm definitely changing the narrative for him. But you getting 20 women under your belt don't make you more of a man. Go back to what you said earlier, Anthony. I could be a boy, 35 years old, had a lot of women, but still a boy.
Yeah, that's right. Well, picking how do you choose a wife? I think you meet a nice woman. It's visual. Well, it might not even be visual. I think you close your eyes and then you hold her around the wrist. And you kind of roll that wrist.
That's the Ray Charles theory.
Yeah, he used the Ray Charles theory, and I think he did pretty good. So I think that's a method that we probably could all benefit from.
Well, you know what society says about a man, but then there's reality of a man. Like if we really truly talking about what a man is, some of the things that the world say we won't even mention. Like we'll say, "Oh, he works hard. Oh, he pays his bill. You know, he's responsible. He's a leader." And some of the things that we're saying here, and that's the truth of what a man is, right? But if we listen to the world, "Oh, he sleeps with a lot of women." It's a completely different description of what a man is. Can we meet in the middle of what we think the true man is versus what the world says a man is?
I don't know the middle, but we can be somewhere, on the line, because a lot of things what the world says.
Oh yeah, it would.
We're gonna work on your wrist game, Andy. But
I think it would.
A lot of things that the world say, man, I think is more along negative. So that takes out the integrity part. That takes out the, trying to do the right thing and standing up. So I think we have to leave the world out if we're going to really define what a man is, because the world will have him. I can't say I don't want to get canceled. We on what show number we on? We want to make it a little while longer. Yeah, I'll stop there.
Kevin?
Well, sometimes what the world sees, when people say, such and such, don't go to this place because it's like this, where you might have gone there on the bad. You have to look at all the parameters. You don't know if you went there on a bad night, or you see what I mean, like a restaurant, or maybe that night the head chef was off. Anything, and a lot of times people that say, "Oh, men ain't no good," that's because you're kind of stuck in that low end of the dating pool, and you kind of deal with those guys, and you use those guys as your measuring stick or your litmus test for everything else. Can't do it.
I muted my phone. All right, so I think that it's very, it's something that your parents have to teach you. It's all about integrity. I think that's something we'll talk about a little bit later. We didn't really dig deep into the husband thing. I really kind of want to look into that a little bit, but also a question I'm going to throw out there for the second half of the show. What would you tell your 20-year-old self? What advice would you give your 20-year-old self? We're not going to jump onto that just yet. Anybody else got anything they want to say about what we've talked about so far?
Well, you saying to dig deep into the husband part of it. What avenues you want to travel down as far as discussion?
Well, let's talk about it. So, I don't know. I think We look at, for one, I think we have a lot of successful men. Let's look at celebrities. A lot of successful celebrities who, not forget their money. They've made it to the highest level of whatever it is they do. But the divorce rate is so high. How is it you can be such a leader and so great and all this other stuff, but once it comes to finding a wife, your divorce rate is so high? We always fail in that area. Why is it? Are we looking for the wrong things? Does it change?
There you go. It depends. I was about to say, it depends on what you're looking for. If you're successful and you're looking for somebody to complete what you think is a perfect photo, then you didn't vet those other parts. So maybe you should have kept looking instead of stopping where you stopped. And that goes for both men and women. And it depends on what you're looking for. A lot of times when ladies, those that seek a guy that's making a lot of money, and they think, oh, if he makes a lot of money, it's like he's already got the wheels turning. Yeah. And he might be a lot of money making no good, So you just you feel a lot of risk on how you looking. Yeah. There you go.
I always grabbing on risk.
What you think, Eric? You think it's something different, or you agree?
Sorry about the background noise. Well, repeat the question one more time for me. Make sure I'm hitting the point.
We're talking about marriage. Why is it the divorce rate is so high when you have so many successful men out there? They're not very successful in finding their wife.
Again, I agree. I have to pick it back what you guys are saying in regards to you got to first look at what success is and what success are you going afterward. If the man's going after that monetary success, then that's probably it's likely what the woman going after too, because that's what he leads with is his money or the success in his business or whatever case may be. But again, if you don't talk about the character, the integrity of the man, then you're missing so much more as opposed to what you see on the outside. Because what you see on the outside is not what you see in the house a lot of times. We always give our best foot forward outside the house. That's when the work really starts, when you inside the house. You know what I mean? So that's just how I look at it anyway.
Yeah. I think, we look at, I don't know, I guess the last 30 years perhaps, when we think about women, so there's a few men that are good leadership type men out there, but there are probably more women out there at this point. There's the college rate for women is way higher than, especially in the Black community, than the men. And all of a sudden now you see a shift change in the leadership. And I often wonder if that's the purpose behind divorce, is that the purpose behind unsuccessful relationships and so forth, because now we either have a clash in leadership or maybe and I hate to say this to our female leaders or viewers, maybe they're leading when they just don't have the ability to. I mean, I think there's places where women can lead. There's places where women should take over when men are weak, but overall they should not be leading their household. And I kind of feel like that might have a great deal over, at least in the last 30 years. And of course, the divorce rate was 50%, 35, 50 years ago. So that it probably wasn't it before then, but now for sure.
Man,
then there's so many distractions.
True. It's values to me. Basically, E.T., the hip hop preacher, Eric Thomas, he talks about his concept is the 120. So he was like, you doing 100%, but now you got to do 120. What 120 is the full spectrum. So 120 is, okay, you achieved your financial success. You found the one you want. But now, how's your home life? How's your relationship with your kids? How's your relationship with your wife? How's your relationship with God? It's covering all the bases. And so if you're only putting value in one thing, it's like, hey, I'm married. Hey, I make buku money. So, that's all I got to do. But you're not putting effort into the relationship part. So I think that kind of leads to it as far as the divorce rate is values.
Let's go to the comments. My main girl, what's happening? This is Ann Allen, by the way. She said, you have to agree on major issues. Agreement is powerful. No agreement equals division, and a divided house cannot stand. I fully agree with you. Let's go back to another one real quick. I thought this was funny. My wrist would never pass. Whatever, it's funny to me. Yeah. But it would pass. I know, ain't you? All right, y'all. Go ahead, Eric.
I would say this.
Yeah, I think it would.
Real quick, as far as men's, go back to what you said earlier, Kevin, was about men supposed to be providers for their household too. it's so entangled now, right? So everybody's working in the house now to make ends meet for a lot of times. I say everybody, the man and the wife or whatever, they both work to make ends meet a lot of times. And so a lot of times I would say that women come into the relationship more prepared to provide than some men, right? And I think that distorts the order of authority or the order of leadership or whatever case may be in the household. So I think that part has to be done first. Although you can't look at just money, but you do have to look at as a man how you can provide for the family that you want to have. So I think if you're looking from a whole hierarchical standpoint, like you got to provide for your wife and your family, and then you look at it from that perspective, then you have to look at how am I going to interact with these people too. I'm going to provide for them, but how do I also lead them in the right way? So from a man perspective, we have a lot of responsibilities, and I think that's something we got to teach our younger generation. We have a lot of responsibility. We don't necessarily have to take it all on ourselves anymore, but when we have a lot of responsibility, we need to take up for.
Yeah, that's true. I can feel that, but let's take it from another angle too. I think a man also has to have a certain respect level important. So let's take financial wise. My wife didn't always make more money than me. You know, I mean that's just the reality of her career and what she does. But as far as a man being able to respect that and still keep those lanes where they need to be, I think that's a big factor as well. Being able to adjust the situation and still be able to keep things in the middle of the road, like the old folks used to say.
All right. Hey, look, when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more. What would you tell your 20-year-old self? But first, we're going to ask roles of a man versus roles of a woman. We're going to talk about that in just a second. See y'all in about 30 seconds.
It's diluted up to this time. Knowing what it means is a great thing, but that person is still insulting you with the nomenclature of being called a nigger.
Hey, now you know big boy, you got to come down on my level now.
Nomenclature.
I'm talking about
The
Kevin
moment
making some of the promos. All right, so before we went out, actually, I think now we got to rebrand me, but we just gonna skip it tonight. I did not prepare one. I'm gonna rebrand me, Stephen F. Austin. Go there. All right. Coming up in just a little bit, what would you tell your 20-year-old self? But first, all right, so we're gonna talk about the roles of the household. So you got a man, he cleans the kitchen. Is he out of place for cleaning the kitchen? What if he cleans the kitchen well, but he pays someone else to come in and mow the yard? Is that jacked up? I guess maybe if he's not very good at yard work, but is that what? Let's talk about the role of a man. What do y'all think? Well, first, let's go to the comments.
Well,
I guess this is. Tony said the reason that the marriage don't last is because they married the money and not the person. Oh yeah, absolutely.
I heard you, Mr. Goodson.
All right, Kevin, you were saying something?
I was saying about he may not like to do yard work, but it's only a problem paying if you can't afford it. You get what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
If you're struggling, you can't afford it. But we got to hire a lineman. You can't. It's like, what do you? But I think a man should clean up. Cook if you can. Vacuum, sweep, whatever. The switch works for both male and female hands. So
I think you do your strength. Going back to what Ann Allen said, some of the big things, and if you agree on certain things and so forth. However, my philosophy, of course, my mom would always say the man takes care of the outside and the woman represents the inside. And each household.
Nothing wrong with that.
I get that. But in my philosophy is a man starts outside and he does as much as he can until he gets inside. In other words, he can get inside. If the kitchen is his forte, he can do outside, the kitchen, the living room. And if he runs out in the living room, then that's where the woman takes over. Especially in today's society. We're both working. We both got to keep up a household. But you carry on as much of the load as you possibly can. I think that's the role of us. We have to carry on that role. And it's unfortunate when we don't have to carry the babies. We don't have to carry, the load that women have to carry. But financial burden sometimes is our load. Sometimes physical burden is our load. Like you said, Kevin, once you hear that noise downstairs, you have to be the one to carry that load, and pick that pistol up. So
That's
I mean,
right.
let's talk.
That's right.
Let's talk role, Ace, because you know.
Well,
from a person whose wife has always made more money.
oh yeah. Hey, look here. Everybody knows Stedman is my middle name.
Yeah, I hear you, brother. I hear you.
Now, well, it's what's crazy is so what we were talking about earlier when we said like when you were comparing like what does the world define as far as what it is. I think this question that you asked that we talk about now with the roles, it has to be defined by the time period. I think this answer is completely different if we were in the late 1800s. I think it was completely different in the 50s. I think it changed completely different in the 70s. Now I know protector has always protector provider has always been the main one. But take today's time with the economy and the way things are going up and where everything is, I think the roles have kind of merged in a sense, as far as just everybody having one common goal, having one being focused on one common goal to achieve or in some senses just survive.
What do y'all have to say about that, Kevin, Eric?
I mean, I think we all saying similar things to the point where we just kind of have to make it work for your household for the most part. If like you said, if my strong suit's cleaning up, which that is one of my strong suits is cleaning, so I like it. It's soothing for me. So we have to kind of just figure out what each person's good at. We have to figure out which each person doesn't like necessarily. And sometimes that's the thing about about husbands and wives. I think that has to be discussed as well at some point. Some things we have to do, we necessarily don't like to do, but we need to do them anyway. So I think that's part of the problem. We're in a culture now where we don't want to do it, we just don't do it. You know what I mean? So I think as a man, we can role model that too. Hey, I don't necessarily like to clean, I don't necessarily like to cook, but when it's time when somebody needs to cook some food, I'm going to do it because it needs to be done. So that's role modeling for your child, role modeling for your wife.
Right.
So when you
I make beds, wash dishes, mow the yard, wash and iron clothes. Okay, well, he's very domestic.
Yeah. Sound like me.
Who was that?
Only good.
Yeah.
Hey,
See?
when you mop, do you wear all white and with a hooper ring?
Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean.
I think there's a phrase that goes, the more things change, the more things stay the same. And I don't care if it's the 50s, the 1800s, the 1600s. I think the role of a man is the same. Don't get me wrong. I feel like there's some household things that women do that men might be stronger at, but there's some things that women should do. There's some things that men should do. There's some things that's expected of a man. There's some things that are expected of a woman. And like the leadership role for her. Joyce Meyer said, she's world renowned. She speaks around the country. She speaks at all these different churches. She meets with the highest people. But when the moment she gets off that stage, she's Mrs. Joyce Meyer or whatever her name is. Her husband is now the leader. So there's a role that he assumes that he takes. And so I think, of course, we talk about fame and all that stuff at that point. But I think that when you're a man, you have this role. There's a conversation that you have to have. So we're going back to that whole husband-wife thing. There's a conversation that needs to be had right before you get married. And there's not a lot of. That's one of the reasons why you have to have marriage counseling, because once you get married, these real conversations don't happen. Who's going to watch the game? Who's going to do? That's the game. That's when you really start playing. So I think that there's a role that you have to take as a man, and unfortunately, sometimes you have to take the hard. Most of the time, we have to do the hard stuff. We have to, with the exception of carrying a baby. I think that's hard. Let's go to the comments. What do you all think that a woman goes out and work and the man stay home and keep the house? How do y'all think about? How do y'all feel about that?
I'm jealous.
He's jealous.
Let me tell you something. I'm mixing this from this question here. Now, for about when the COVID hit, I was able to work from home, and I did a lot of stuff with the kids at that point when I worked from home, and I don't want that job. I don't want that job at all. It is tough. But if it works for you,
well, the key word what you just said is you worked from home.
That's true.
Yeah, see, that's the situation we talking about. somebody who at the front door in their house coat. Hey, have a good one now. You know, hand it.
Well, let's just say it's different. You know, if your wife makes, minimum wage, and you're a
Oprah
house
money.
husband, but yeah, if she makes Oprah money, then yeah,
Oprah
a
money, and
completely
you
different
playing
situation.
Stedman, you know.
Hey, I'll tell
Yeah.
you what, if I had Oprah money, you would never see me outside of anything but a smoke jacket and some isotoners.
I hear you.
That's it.
I hear you. Now, see, the other side to that coin is, now you don't want to come back home, ladies, and this is my food. I put it in the refrigerator, and I did it. You know, yeah, that's when it begins. Like,
Oh yeah.
So
It's like,
yeah, so that
you can
that
move-
that's
you
that's a emasculation at that point. Yeah,
Well, yeah, true.
the truth. You know what?
but not all
Mine-
people do that.
Mine tells the truth. You know what I'm saying? Like, even if you're a man, if you get married to a woman and she moves in your house, or vice versa, he moves into her house, and they say, "Well, this is our house." No, it's not. Because the moment the other person say, "Hey, look, let's bust down this wall and let's paint this wall," and then, no, we ain't doing all that to my house. It becomes my house. So when she goes out and make all this money, it's my money. You know, that's why we try to, I guess those men who do work and have housewives, they give them a allowance or whatever they do so that they can use their money for whatever they want to do. You know.
When they give
All
the
right.
allowance, do they count it out when they give it? Do they just give it to them? They be like, now there's
Yeah.
5.
Using fighting words.
I'm sure they count it.
They count it
I'm
out.
sure they count.
They put in an envelope. All right. So before we went to break earlier, we've been saying we're going to have this conversation. I think we have about 20 minutes left. What would you tell your 20-year-old self? See, because what you would tell your 20-year-old self is probably not the same thing you tell your 30-year-old self or 40-year-old self for that matter. What would you tell your 20-year-old self that will make a huge impact on your life today? Now,
Number one thing,
not all
take
at
more
once.
chances.
But hey,
Take more chances.
hey man, I know she look clean, but check.
Yeah. I'll tell you a true story that I work it as my answer. When I was in grad school, it was at Howard University, and I was jogging, and I stopped by, I think it was E.F. Hutton or someplace, and I said to the guy, I'm just a poor college student, but I just like to know what to invest in. And the guy says, well, he says, there's a company coming out, Booters.
We want to know what to invest
Go
in.
figure food.
Hold on,
You
Kevin.
know,
Hold on.
And I said, yeah, that does sound crazy, doesn't it?
Kevin, you were jogging and then you froze. We didn't hear anything after that.
I was jogging. Okay,
E.F. Hutton.
I was jogging, and I went past E.F. Hutton exactly, and I told the guy, I said, look, man, I'm a poor college student. I said, I would just like to know, however, what you might suggest for some investments. So when I do get some money, and the guy says, there's a company coming out. It's got a crazy name, I know, and he says, but I think it's going to be okay. It's called Apple Computers. And I said, he says, yeah, crazy name to name a company after a fruit, huh? And then I go, yeah, that's a crazy name. And then I didn't think any more about it until, damn. Yeah, so I would have told myself, go get some apple. A big chunk of the apple.
Get a big bite, huh?
Yeah.
I think in addition to me telling myself to take more chances, and I think, like I said, I think investing was a chance I definitely didn't take until I was in my late 30s, early 40s, honestly. But the other thing I think I would tell myself is to ask more questions, especially of my elders, because I didn't ask a lot of questions of people who was older than me, who had more life experiences, and hopefully had more wisdom than me at that time. So that's what I would tell myself. That's what I would tell a 20-year-old now, is to ask more questions, and I don't think they know everything, because that's what we thought. At 28, 19 years old, we thought we knew everything. So I would say, don't know everything, ask questions.
We'd like to hear what the audience has to say. What's something you would tell your 20-year-old self going back? If it were me, I think
Now don't respond if you 22 out there listening. Now we don't care what you got to say to your 20-year-old self. You talking, girl, buy that album.
Album.
Oh, I'm sorry. Buy that.
Download it.
Yeah, download it.
I think I tell my 20-year-old self, I teach myself about fear. I think fear is the one thing that keeps me from doing a whole lot of things. I tell people all the time that when you save $20,000, $50,000, $100,000 cash, then all of a sudden you have $100,000 and you're afraid to make any kind of moves because it took you so long to get there. And you're afraid to quit jobs because you don't want to lose this good job to go out and do the thing you really want to be. You don't want to go on plane trips. You don't want to do go hiking. Whatever the case may be, fear is not a real thing. Danger is, of course, but fear is not a real thing. And I would tell myself that, and I would, like Eric say, take more chances and worry about losing a whole lot less. And because one day you're gonna be 44 years old. When you're 44 years old, eventually, if you took enough chances and you had no fear, you were fearless, you would fail a lot. By the time you get to 44, you'll be in a different place than where you are now. So I think that's the route that I would go.
False evidence appearing real. That's fear.
Yep. Yeah.
You can bookmark it as deep.
It is.
Yeah, you can bookmark it as deep.
Okay, already.
I was part of the silence.
One thing I learned from younger people is the fact that, and some older people as well, is like money comes back. Time you can't get time back, you can get money back. Right. So I would definitely put that into the equation as well for myself and other people, because I mean, money is everywhere. You can go get money. So.
All right, moving right along. So Kevin, you don't have any grandchildren just yet.
Not yet.
Neither do we. We don't either. But so I'm thinking, like I look at the kids today. All right, they don't reach out to their grandparents. Kevin, when you were a kid, when you were 15, well, first of all, was your grandparents still living? You had 4. Were they all
yes, my grandmother was.
Did you go and speak to her and call her all the time?
Oh, absolutely. Esther Woodson.
And we had this conversation the other day, Eric and Ace and myself, and their parents are much older, so they don't have the same, but I talked to my grandparents to the day that they all passed away for the most part. And I look at these young kids today. These young kids don't talk to their parents. They don't seem like they really appreciate the elderly. So that's my question. Does the young men today appreciate older men? Is there something that we can teach them? Because that's the flip side of the original question. What can they teach us? What is it that we can teach them at this point? Because it's not just technology. Before y'all answer that, let's go to the comments. I could have been a doctor. My daddy, look, before we said it, he told me to tell the story. So my daddy, I guess he must have been coming out of college not college. He was coming out of either high school or the military, and he went down to like a guidance counselor, and they said, hey, you got to take this test or whatever and find out what you want to be. So he took the test, finished taking the test, and the guidance counselor was like, hey, look, man, you scored high. You could be anything you want. You could be a doctor, you could be a lawyer, anything. So he basically gives my daddy an application to go down there and work at McDonald's.
That's good.
Yeah.
But anyway, what is it that the old can teach the young today?
Oh man, the biggest thing.
I think it's.
Go ahead, please.
No, I was just gonna say I think it's a lot. The key is those that are willing to listen. Because because see, like we were talking to, the game stays the same. Think about it. There are changes in some of the rules of baseball, football, basketball, but the basic game is still the same as it was when they invented the doggone thing. So what I'm saying is a lot of stuff that a lot of kids think, like I heard old guys say, well, there's a song, the guy says the game, I brought it here. And so it's like, it's nothing new really under the sun. There's some stuff you're doing here and there, but it all falls under the same category. So if Anthony was a younger kid and he was going to ask me something about women, and I think I'm going to give him some advice, he might say, oh, you don't know what he's talking about. He ain't 18. but the game is still the same. Maybe you didn't have text messaging back then. We got that, and you didn't have cell phones and all that, and computers, and but the game is still the same. So just getting somebody to listen is the biggest part.
That's right.
Angie Brown says how to be quiet and listen sometimes.
Man,
Ooh, she's right there.
Okay,
she's right
so
there.
When you were 20, when I was 20, when we were all 20 years old, did we have the similarities of these kids today? I mean, did we listen? The grandmother, the grandparents getting, going and having a relationship with elderly is one thing, but did you listen to your parents?
I hung up on, when I was that age, I hung up under the old guys all the time, and I just stayed quiet.
Me too.
And I listened. So I'm one of those people, my father is older, had me, later in life. My father's 81 years old. I have an uncle that's 93 and things like that. So growing up, like, I literally used to hang at those guys' legs and just listen to them talk. My Pastor David Henderson Jr., I used to just listen to him talk. And I just always been fascinated by the older guys. And just coming from the knowledge that they had, I always thought that, learning something for them was sweet. And I used to listen to them, and I used to take what they told me or take what they talk about, then I bring it back to my generation. And very successful with the ladies coming up, thanks to the old school. But I definitely stayed up under them and listened. Now, as far as when we said what can we teach the younger, I think we always have to come from a place of knowledge. We always have to come from a place of teaching. Like one of my good friends, Eric Sherman, told me, he said, if you ain't teaching the young boys some knowledge or some wisdom, and you just running your mouth, then you ain't doing nothing but gossiping.
Right. See, I hung around older people a lot because some of my best comedy came. It was just stuff that they said and did that was just, to this day, that's hilarious to me. And I don't mean to say that I made fun of it, but there was so much wisdom. And Anthony knows, and you all know, and I got this from older people, when I explain something, I'll always stop and give an analogy, won't I?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I do the same thing.
I'll always,
because of Kevin.
And I do that because I got that from older people, because my grandmother would say something and when then she'd give that, and even if you understood it, you still waited for the analogy. And she would just knock it home with that, yep, that's it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Absolutely.
Jesus did it too, right? In parables.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, indeed.
She used to tell me, and this is one, see if y'all get this one. Boy, you didn't have talk enough for 100.
that's what Adrian Daddy always said about him.
Oh, okay. And see, for those that don't understand what that meant that me alone, she has told me enough times to have told 100 other people. So I should really know the game if she didn't gave me talk enough for 100. Or she would say 100. Yeah.
Go to the comments. Mar Anthony Hubbard, he said a couple things, actually. First, he said respect for others and self. That's one of the things he would teach the youngins. There's a 19-year-old going around Memphis right now shooting people. He has shot 4 different locations so far. So do you think he had any positive male intervention?
Yeah.
I think, you know what, it's hard to say.
How to use that pistol.
It's hard to say
he didn't have positive, but I do believe that he probably was influenced by the negative. That's the weird part about it, because I grew up with my daddy was very positive, my uncles, my cousins, all positive, but still I kind of wanted to have a little Tupac in me. You know what I mean? It was a cool thing to do at the time.
Are you saying you were shooting people in Memphis at a point in time?
Was Tupac shooting people in Memphis?
No, I'm just saying.
I wanted to hit them up. I like it.
I think the answer to that is, you can give wisdom and give guidance all you want, but at the end of the day, people gonna select their own path. That's on a serious note. I lost my brother to gun violence, gun violence, right? And I remember my father, after my brother was murdered, I remember my father just racking his brain, like, what could I have done different? What could I have done? Things like that. And the true answer is nothing. He instilled values in us. He showed us what a man was. he even instilled hard work in us. You know, my father was at the post office for 36 years, you know, and my brother chose his own path. So he had the knowledge, he had the wisdom, he had the influence and things like that. But at the end of the day, an adult is going to choose what appeases to them. And so with that situation, Mark Anthony talking about, for some reason, this young man, no matter who's been influencing him in his life, he's chosen that path for that appeases him at that time.
Well, it goes back to that old saying, how that man had the twin boys, and the man was an alcoholic, and one of the twins was not an alcoholic, and they asked him, they said, why were you not an alcoholic? He said, because my dad was an alcoholic. They asked the other one, why were you an alcoholic? He said, because my dad an alcoholic. I think the one thing that you say, he had the this, he had the that, he had the role model, but he also had his own choice. And that's where it all goes its own direction. Hey, look, y'all, we have about 3 or 4 more minutes before the show's over. This has been a lot of fun. Kevin, we want to appreciate you for coming on once again.
Always.
Always. A lot of fun. Hey, Angie, we thank you.
Oh, man.
You and your sexy wrist.
Yeah. We couldn't have made it without your input on the situation.
That's right.
So real quick before we get out of here, though. So
I'm trying to get a picture of the wrist now.
Angie, do us a favor. Show us your wrist.
Take a picture of the wrist.
Just look at the picture itself. That's all. All right, Eric.
So I was just saying, so we are a solution-focused podcast, or at least we should try to be much as we can be. Think about the 19-year-old kid that Marantha is talking about. And although we know that people have choices, that don't mean we sit idle and do nothing for kids or people that need help, right? So going back to what older gentlemen can teach younger gentlemen, and what younger gentlemen can teach older gentlemen. And I'm thinking about the 35-year-old boy that we start talking about, or the 20-year-old man that may be the case scenario. The value of men sitting down talking together and figuring out what a man is and what a man does. There's a value in that. So I wish that anybody who has a single mom, or if you married, got your husband and got sons, we would love to hear from different young men, especially to reach out to them and have conversations about this kind of stuff. We had fun about this. We had fun with this, and we made it fun. We made it something that's, I would say cool on some levels, right? So I would love to have more conversations, especially with younger men, about these type of conversations, because I think men don't have these conversations enough.
Well, I'll tell you what, we each got 10 seconds. 10 seconds. Give advice if there's a young man watching, or a young man's mother watching, and he needs that advice. What would be some advice that you guys would give to any young man? Go, Eric.
Top of my head, I would say find somebody who you can talk to. If you have the person inside your house. Just like I think you learn how to vet people early in life, and you learn how to vet people who has your best interests at heart. Try to find somebody who teach you the right way.
Ace,
take them tight ass pants off. That's just funny. No, seriously. 3 seconds could be the difference between life and death. 3 seconds. Yep. Stop. Think before you act. It could be the difference between your life going which way, death, life in a jail cell, or living a fulfilling life. 3 seconds.
Kevin?
Me? Well, yeah, Ace is saying the same thing I was going on. You got to learn to listen, because that's the key. If you want to be on top of the game, then absorb the game. Watch it, listen to it, think, and like he said, think about it. Because he's right. You can make a decision, and it was the right decision in your head that first 2 seconds, but by second 8, you're thinking, man, I should have done. Yeah, learn to listen.
Very good. I think if I had something to say, I do mine with a story like Kevin. Earlier this year, I was having some small issues at work, and finally I just gave it up. I said, you know what, God, I'm gonna give this all to you. You're gonna handle this for me. And then literally the success, me and Ace was talking about this today. Success started coming when I just gave it to him and let him handle it. I think the sooner I would have learned that, the earlier I would have done that, the better off I would have been. So if I could do that at age 20, just imagine where you would be the rest of your life. All right. So Ace, next week we have a very interesting show. I can't wait. So tell me about this. Mid-Jai.
Well, we're gonna yeah, this feels like deja vu. Well, wait. I don't get my intro or nothing.
You had me to write this down, and it just threw me off. I'm sorry. I don't even know. Hey, yo, Ace, who do we have on the show next week?
I'm discussing the topics that have to deal with the black family. So you know the food or the drink is good when the person says swallow instead of swallow. We're going to have an interview with Liberians with Tourette syndrome. And the name of the show is going to be titled Breaking the Rules. And we will have their mics muted most of the time. Married couples that swing at the playground. Are they confused or just risk takers? Giggity, giggity. We'll see how that goes. You know,
Adrian, the Ace Stetson, and the rest of the Rebranders crew live Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m. Central on YouTube and Instagram at Rebranders Podcast, Facebook at Rebranders, or rebranders.org.
I work too hard. Look, I work too hard for this stuff, man.
Hey, anyways, what do we have on the show next week?
Well, next week we're gonna be having a show based on the community, cleaning up things. So we're actually gonna be interviewing Midja that's signing up for the police department and trying to take a stand tall against crime.
Well, you got to tell us what a midget is.
Oh, that's the plural of midgets. It's a group of midget. Yeah, they're signing up for the police academy to stand tall against crime. You know, we talking about that.
All right, Kevin, I wish we had much more time. We see that nice painting you got on the back of your wall. Of course, I've been in your house many times. And I've seen that painting.
What is it? My head was blocking it. Yeah.
Black Cowboys, it looked like Jimi Hendrix.
Oh, yeah, well, it is Hendrix back there. Yeah, underneath.
Nice blowout, too. Yeah,
it is. Yeah. Hendrix got this blowout working.
Hey, we want to thank everybody for watching and commenting tonight. That's a lot of fun. Tony and Deborah Goodson, of course, as always. Angie, you know I got to say it one more time. The beautiful wrist with the beautiful face. Angie Barrett.
There it is.
Barrett. My main man, Mar Anthony, thank you for tuning in. Hey, look, we'll see y'all next week. We got how many midgies we have? Is it 2 or more or 3 or more?
It'll be about 6.
6 midgies?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, see y'all next
week.
We
canceled. That's it. We canceled.
Right plus.
What if it was a lot of gay dudes? What would you call it? Never mind. See y'all next week.